So this presentation looks at CVS Health through the implementation side of strategy. The question is not whether CVS has enough businesses or enough reach, it clearly does. The question is whether its structure and culture are set up to make all those pieces work together in a way that actually improves the customer experience and protects the company's competitive advantage. I'm going to focus on where the structure fits the strategy, where the friction is, and what leadership should do about it. So first I'm going to explain CVS's design. Then I'll look at whether that design really supports the company's strategy. After that, I'll talk about culture, norms, and artifacts. I'll close with recommendations and the leadership perspective. The whole presentation comes back to one point. CVS cannot just expect integration to happen because it owns a lot of related businesses. It has to build integration into its systems as a core purpose. First, I'm looking at the organizational design itself. CVS is not a simple company, so the right question is not whether the company should be centralized or decentralized across the board. The better question is where division level expertise is needed and where cross-business coordination has to be stronger. CVS is basically a multi-divisional company. That structure makes sense because insurance, pharmacy benefit management, retail pharmacy, and direct care are not the same kind of business. Each one needs different expertise, regulations, and operations. The advantage is that CVS can meet people at several points in their health journey. The problem is that the strategy only works if those business areas share information, priorities, and accountability instead of acting like separate companies that happen to have the same parent. So this map shows the basic structure that I'm analyzing. CVS Health sits at the top with major divisions underneath it. The important part is the integration layer at the bottom. Patient journey coordination, secure data sharing, AI and ethics governance, plus quality and trust cannot be owned by just one business unit. They are enterprise issues. This is why I see CVS as a multi-divisional company that needs stronger cross-business systems, not necessarily a completely new structure. I think the structure mostly fits the strategy, but that doesn't automatically mean that it's working. The fit is there because CVS needs different operating capabilities across insurance, pharmacy, benefits management, and care delivery. The risk is that separate business unit goals can create departmental isolation. A patient does not care which division owns a task. They just care whether the process is simple. So CVS needs to measure success across the journey, not just inside of each individual division. So my recommendation is not to blow up CVS's divisional structure. That would probably create a lot more disruption than benefit. I would add patient journey integration teams that sit across the divisions. For example, there should be shared leaders and shared metrics for care access, the medication journey, digital navigation, and quality and trust. That would force the company to look at whether the handoffs are working instead of only asking whether each individual business met its own goals. So now I'm looking at the order of events. CVS's connected health strategy grew through acquisitions and expansion. That means the strategy probably moved faster than the internal integration model. That's not unusual, but it does create execution risk. So this is why I say strategy came first. CVS grew into a connected healthcare company through major moves into PBM services, insurance, and care delivery. The strategy makes perfect sense. The company wants to make healthcare simpler by connecting services that are usually fragmented. But when companies grow in this type of way, the structure then has to catch up with the growth. That means that leaders need to be intentional about governance, culture, data sharing, and how the different businesses can make decisions together for one common goal, the customer experience. So this is my scorecard of the alignment. Strategically, CVS has strong fit because the businesses are related and can support each other. But coordination and culture integration are more mixed. A company can announce an enterprise strategy, but employees still have to experience shared priorities and shared decision making. Ethics and trust are high stakes because CVS operates in healthcare. The company can't trade trust for efficiency. Culture is not just posters, words on a website, or a purpose statement. It shows up in what gets rewarded in a company, what gets ignored, and whether people can speak up when something isn't working. CVS publicly says it wants to be the most trusted healthcare company in America, and it names care, purposeful innovation, accountability, safety, and quality as its core values. Those values line up well with the company's strategy, but the hard part is consistency across the board. The same values need to show up in retail pharmacy, in insurance, in PBM practices, in clinical care, and in AI usage. Otherwise, the culture just becomes a slogan instead of an operating standard. So this is where culture becomes practical. Culture supports CVS's strategy when people collaborate across boundaries, speak up about problems, and are measured on the full customer experience. It hurts execution when the divisions optimize themselves and pass problems down the line. In healthcare, that can be more than inefficient. It can affect access, trust, and safety. So that's why I think CVS needs an enterprise culture that is more intentional about shared accountability throughout the entire business. So this section is about the everyday signals employees pick up on. Norms are not something that's written down in a handbook. They're the things that people pick up along the way, like whether people share information, whether somebody gets punished for raising a concern, whether collaboration actually counts in performance reviews. Artifacts are the things that people can see, tangible things. CVS's app, patient-facing tools, shared dashboards, training, and governance committees can all signal whether the company really expects the business to operate as one system. So now we're going to bring structure, culture, and strategy all together. The recommendations that I'm making are practical. They make integration visible, they reward it, and govern the risks that come with scale and technology. This slide pulls the analysis together. The structure has to put the right expertise in the right places. The culture has to make people collaborate and protect that trust that it's building. The controls have to reward the outcomes CVS says it cares about. When those things all line up, the result isn't just a bigger company. It's a healthcare experience that actually feels easier for the person using it. My first recommendation is cross-business patient journey teams. My second is to reward enterprise outcomes because people usually focus on what gets measured. My third is stronger ethical and adaptive governance. CVS is using more technology, more data, more integration. That creates an opportunity, but it also creates more reasons for leadership to be clear about privacy, transparency, safety, and how concerns get escalated. From a strategic leadership perspective, CVS leaders have to do more than manage business units. They have to make the enterprise coherent. That means clearly explaining the vision, seeing how decisions in one division affect another, and treating cultural change as an adaptive challenge. It also means ethical judgment. In healthcare, the company cannot afford to act like privacy, fairness, or patient trust are separate from the strategy. And so now this is just a little bit on how AI helped with this presentation. AI helped organize and map the structure visually and make sure I was covering the assignment sections. but it could not decide whether CVS's public statements matched the strategy in a meaningful way. I had to compare the company materials with the textbook and leadership research and then decide what the actual gaps were to put them inside of this presentation. Overall, CVS has a real opportunity because it has pharmacy, benefits, care delivery, and technology all in the same enterprise. But the company's competitive advantage depends on more than ownership. It depends on structure, it depends on culture, it depends on leadership, and it depends on integration. CVS has to make the integration feel real for the people using the system. They have to focus on the patient experience across the journey of all of their divisions. And that means protecting trust, rewarding collaboration, and making the patient experience the measure that brings the different divisions together. And these are my sources.